Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Johnny, and welcome to episode 85 of the Travel Like a Boss podcast. I'm here with Trevor G. Reid. What's that G stand for, Trevor?
The G is Grant, but
or gangsta.
Or gangsta. I'll take gangsta.
All right, so Trevor is from San Francisco, worked in the kind of tech scene for a bit.
Yep.
And we met here in Chiang Mai back in July, so a few months ago.
Yeah.
He was here for a month.
Yeah, you were the first person I met when I got here, actually. Like, I walked into Pun Space, and you were just kind of standing there making your coffee, and I was like, oh, that's Johnny. That's like, he's from the internet. I gotta go meet him.
So tell us a little bit about your background, what made you decide to come out here, and how did you find me or Chiang Mai?
Yeah, so I spent about 3.5 years working at a startup out in San Francisco. And I was kind of, getting ready to like change up my pace a little bit, getting a little burnt out. And so I left my job, actually moved to Salt Lake City, and was like, I'm just going to be a ski bum. And so I did that for about 6 months. And in my free time, I started kind of researching like how I could kind of keep this going, how I could start making money again. I wasn't really interested in getting, a quote unquote real job. And this kind of like, travel and digital nomad stuff started kind of coming up on my radar. And once that happened, then Chiang Mai, I kept on seeing Chiang Mai over and over again. I was like, what is this place? I've never heard of it. And yeah, so I was planning this big Southeast Asia backpacking trip. Figured I'd end it with a month in Chiang Mai, check it out, see if like the community here is real, and if I liked it, and then if I did it, come back, and I'm back.
All right.
Yeah.
End of podcast. See you guys next week. So I'm actually curious a little bit about Salt Lake City, because I've heard that's a great snowboarding and skiing place. Yeah. I forgot who it was. Somebody I met at Pun Space actually was like, you should go there for a winter. You can get a cabin or you can get an apartment in Salt Lake City, which is how far from the actual like ski slopes?
So if you want to go to like Snowbird or Alta, which are like, world-class ski resorts, 30 minutes if there's no traffic. On a powder day, a lot longer, unless you get up really, really early.
Like how early is early?
Like 6 a.m.
Oh, okay, so early.
Like before they open up the mountain, you have to be like in line. People
Okay.
are serious about it there. And there's like this really cool kind of, I guess, like understanding with a lot of the places there, where if you work somewhere and there's a powder day, a lot of companies are just like, yeah, take the morning, go ski, and then come back.
So I'm assuming a powder day means it's a good day to snowboard.
It's like the first day after you get fresh snow.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's all new, none of it's been touched yet. It's
So
like
you're
the
gonna
best
know
stuff.
the night before tomorrow's gonna be powder day.
Yeah, usually it's already started snowing.
And the companies, so like even if you're working for, let's say like, some random office, just because it's the culture there, people are expected to.
That's the vibe that I got. I mean, I was pretty much only interacting with people that had that perk, so I don't really know how like common it was. But yeah, I talked to people that were like, yeah, I just came up here, like we were just on the lift, and they'd see their boss like skiing down there, like, oh, I guess I don't have a meeting this morning because there's my boss.
That's
so,
cool.
Yeah.
Were you working out there, or you
No.
literally just bumming it?
I was literally bumming it, yeah. And it's it's a much, much lower cost of living than San Francisco. One of my buddies was out there, so we got to share an apartment, and yeah, it was really fun.
So Salt Lake was before or after San Francisco?
It was after.
After,
Yeah.
okay. So let's rewind a bit. Why'd you move from DC to San Francisco?
Well, I was studying computer science in college, and I totally got like kind of enchanted by the whole startup scene in San Francisco, and I was like, I gotta go out there. There's Hacker News and Reddit and all these other kind of online communities that were just like all about startups, and so I wanted to be a part of that. And then one of my friends got a job at this really cool company. He was like, you should check it out. So I did. Ended up getting a job there too, and and I stayed there the whole time that I was in San Francisco.
Okay. So how long was that?
Almost 3.5 years.
Okay, that's a while.
Yeah.
Can you talk about what company it was?
Yeah, so we were in ad tech. So like, if you've ever like gone on to look at like a cool pair of shoes on some e-commerce site, and then you've gone around on the internet, on Facebook, just like random Google sites, whatever, and you see ads for that particular pair of shoes, or shoes that are just like it, or that kind of stuff. That was the space that we were in. A lot of like very, very targeted, like kind of big data, machine learning, all of those kinds of things that had to come together to build this product. Really, really smart engineering
So
team.
like similar to like just retargeting ads?
Yeah. We were retargeting, but we only worked with like these big brands,
ones.
like, well, I'll leave some of them out.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's all right. So I do a little bit of retargeting for my stores, mainly through just Facebook ads. I just follow people, and it's great because for a very tiny budget, I think I spend like $8 a month in retargeting ads. I get good conversions because it's people who went specifically to a product on my store. They were looking at it for a while, and it just kind of gently reminds them wherever they go on Facebook or somewhere else, like, hey, do you remember this? Do you want to buy it?
Yeah, it's really effective because of that. Some of the tricks are like, not pestering people to the point where they're like, oh my God, get this product away from me. Or like if you already bought it, like, okay, I bought my shoes. Why are you still showing me shoes? So can you be smart? Show like,
Something
some
similar
outfit
related
with it,
Yeah.
or like, something that people might want to get after they bought shoes.
So why did you leave this startup?
It was kind of getting to be time. I mean, just because the way that the Bay Area works, it's pretty uncommon to stay somewhere for like, especially a startup, for much longer than 4 years. And it was like pretty intense, and I was ready to just like kind of do something else.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did you leave with like a big payout package?
So I left with some equity. I just like bought all of it up that I was allowed to, and I was like, maybe this will be worth something in the future. But I think it was a pretty standard package for what most software engineers get out there.
Okay.
I think.
So when you say buy it up, so it's almost kind of like to me, it almost sounds like I don't want to say 401k, but more like, I guess, stock options. You just buy every month. You say 20% of my salary is going to go back into stocks. Is that how it works?
We could talk about this for a long time. But, so the way that it works is, and this is pretty standard, I think, at most startups is, and most big companies out in the Bay Area too, which is when you sign up, you're granted the right to purchase a certain number of shares, or options if the company's not public yet, and you get a quarter of those after you've worked for a year.
Okay.
And then you get monthly installments up until 4 years. And then like if you get like promotions or raises or something like that, you'll get additional shares.
So after the first year, do they now say, okay, give us $20,000 and you have these shares?
You don't have to buy anything, but you're
allowed to.
You're allowed to at a set price.
So let's say you want to, like in your case, you always bought the maximum.
Yeah.
So did you have was it like a big bill at the end of the year? Say, give us $20,000.
It was literally like I wrote a check, and I think I had one like after I'd been there for a couple of years, and then another like my last day, I had another check, and it was just like, cool. They put you on the books and everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now that you're not with the company, did you cash out and sell those shares?
I was sitting on them for a while, and then the company actually got acquired. And so at that point, just because of a bunch of legal stuff, I was just forced to cash out.
Okay.
And not complaining about that. Like, it's definitely helped fund my travels and stuff like that.
So who were they acquired by?
Twitter.
Okay, so big company.
Yeah.
So multi-million-dollar acquisition.
It was a $500 million.
$500 million.
Yeah.
So $500 million.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a big acquisition.
So did you get more than $1 million or like way less?
No, I didn't. I didn't get more than $1 million, but I got enough to be comfortable. It was like in the six figures. Yeah.
Okay, so you got a couple $100,000.
Yeah.
Nice, man.
Yeah. So that's been good.
All right. So you've been able to take that money, go to Salt Lake for.
Well, this actually happened after I'd already been in Salt Lake. I was just living off of savings in Salt Lake. I was planning to just live off of savings when I was doing my Southeast Asia travels. And I was like actually in this really pretty dingy hotel in the Philippines. And it was the middle of the night and my phone just started buzzing. Like I had 50 messages and I thought it was just my friends back home, like maybe just partying or whatever, and decided to like bring me in on something. And it was just a couple of friends that were just like delivering the news to me. And I could not believe it. I like had to check TechCrunch and everything first to verify them.
The acquisition itself, you mean?
Yeah, because I thought they were just messing with me.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, was that the dream, or did you just get lucky?
I honestly expected the company to IPO.
Okay.
But I have no complaints at all.
So if that happened, so IPO is basically they become a publicly traded stock.
Yes.
If that happened, would your shares be worth more or less?
It depends. I mean, like the market kind of tanked recently, maybe not, but it's all just like up in the air. I would expect it to maybe have been, but I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. So you were in this dingy hotel in the Philippines. How much per night were you spending there?
The Philippines hotels are actually pretty expensive, so it was still like more than $20 a night.
Okay, but you were in a $20 hotel.
Yeah.
And did you know that night that your shares were now worth a lot more money?
I had no idea how much they were going to be worth. I mean, I kind of had a vague idea, but I had no idea what the details of the deal were. I had no idea if I'd have to wait. I had no idea like about anything other than that like something was coming. Yeah.
So, but that was exciting, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, that was really exciting.
So, where were you when you found out how much? Like, when did you actually get the money?
Okay, I was either in Bali or the Philippines. So I was in Bali filling out the paperwork so that I could actually get the cash or get cashed out, and I didn't have my laptop was broken.
Okay.
And so I had this like 60-page PDF that I had to read on my iPhone, and I had to like download like an app so that I could sign things on it and like check all the boxes and put in my my mailing address and everything, and I sent it off with that, like literally sitting in a pool in Bali reading this stuff.
That's the dream, right?
Yeah, right. And I think I was in Vietnam when I actually got, like, it was very weird because they didn't message me saying like, hey, it's confirmed, the deal's done, congratulations. It was just I woke up one morning and there was money in my bank account.
That's nice.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I like it. So, what prompted this Southeast Asia travel trip?
I've been wanting to travel for a while. I think was at my old job in San Francisco when I kind of just like walked in one day and I was thinking about going on vacation and was like, oh my god, I haven't left the U.S. for 5 years. Mm-hmm. I never thought that, like, I always thought I would be somebody that would be traveling all over and like kind of be, going all these different places that I've been wanting to go to for a while, and 5 years had gone by and none of that had happened. So that was one of the other things that kind of spurred on me kind of moving along and leaving the Bay Area, was that like I wanted it to happen.
I guess that happens when you're at a job and you're busy,
yeah,
just with life in general.
Yeah.
And time just flies by.
It really does. And like the nature of the job was such that like, I could go on vacation, but you might get an email saying you need to like open up your laptop and check something and like, fix something or something like that. So even the vacations weren't like, I never felt really unplugged.
And in Southeast Asia, did you feel unplugged? I guess your laptop was broken.
Yeah, my laptop was broken. I just had my phone. No, it was awesome. I got to go to a bunch of different countries that I always kind of like considered. I got to, get scuba certified, learned how to surf, made it up to Chiang Mai. So it's been great.
Such a crazy adventure. Like, this could literally be a novel.
I'll have to start working on the book.
I mean, you should write a book.
Right.
This is interesting,
yeah,
especially for all the people who are, still back home, either working a normal job, especially if they're like in a startup.
Right.
This is their dream.
Right.
This is their dream to be able to have their, get shares, be acquired by Twitter,
right,
and then be able to just travel around with no laptop. And lay by the pool signing PDFs.
Right. I mean, I got very, very lucky, I think. That's something I try to remember, because the Bay Area is really exciting, and they're always this is like the story that people get pitched, and I was fortunate enough that it worked out for me, but it doesn't for a lot of people. So
in retrospect, like, let's say you had to do it all over again, yeah. I'm assuming you would have.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think everything. Like, I don't have any complaints. Like, it all worked out really well for me.
But do you think that you would be able to like pick another winner company, like pick another unicorn?
No.
Was it just by accident?
I always had a good feeling about it, but it's the only place I've ever worked. And I always trusted the leadership. I always trusted my teammates. Like I knew everybody was smart, but like a lot of times that's not enough, you know? Like it's also just timing and luck and other things that have to come together for success like that. And so I would not put my money on picking another one, but who knows?
Okay. So I'm curious, what do you do with your money now? Are you investing it in anything?
Yeah, I'm investing it mostly just in index funds. Yeah.
Okay. How did you feel about the Black Monday a few weeks ago?
I was kind of annoyed that I just put in like a huge chunk of money like 2 months before it happened. But this is the market. Like it's not like I'm not gonna be making any changes. Just gonna ride
hold
out.
on to it. Which index funds are you invested in?
It's a Vanguard Total Market Fund.
VTI.
Yeah.
That's what I'm in.
Sweet. Yeah. Vanguard's the way to go.
Yeah. So did you put that whole amount in at like right when you got it, or are you dollar cost averaging it?
I put a big chunk of it in, maybe about half. The rest I'm saving just because I'm not totally sure of tax implications yet, and I need to get that sorted out, and I didn't want to be short on cash when that comes around. But yeah, I'm not doing any of the dollar cost averaging. I just decided to go with it.
Okay, just throw it in there.
Yeah.
Do you remember what you got in at? It's at 101 today.
I don't remember.
So
I know I'm down though.
So in the last year, the highest it was at was like 108 maybe, and the lowest it was 96.
I mean, I think I bought in like
What month was it?
July.
So March, July. So July it was at 106.
Yeah.
So that's what I bought most of mine at too. And then I wrote about this on my blog. So if anyone's curious about checking out like where I invest my money, pretty much the exact same thing as you do.
Yeah.
But I set up a buy order if it ever dropped below 100. Just because I wanted to put more money in, just because I had cash in the bank that I wasn't doing anything with. But instead of just putting it in, I said, you know what? Let me put in the orders fill at 100 or less. And if it doesn't fill, then oh well, it sits there.
Right.
And luckily, when it dropped from, let's see, 108.85 to 96.95 overnight. And even though I had I think I had an order in at 105 and then one at 100, but both of them got filled at 96.85 or something like that.
Oh, yeah,
so I got so lucky.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And now it's back over 100.
Right.
So I'm confident that if you just hold on to it, it's gonna go back up.
Yeah,
You're fine.
I'm just trying not to check it really, not like out of a, I don't want to be disappointed and like I'm scared kind of thing, but just like, it's a long-term investment, so
That's all that matters.
let it sit,
Okay. Well, you know what? It sounds like you're smart with your money. How did you even decide on Vanguard itself?
I think I got really into personal finance when I was in San Francisco because, one, the cost of living there is really high, and I was really kind of interested in this whole early retirement movement and like, what kind of savings rates you need to have to like retire by 30 and all of that kind of stuff. And it was like every single blog that I read, it was almost like Vanguard was like sponsoring these places or something, but it was just what people everybody came to the same conclusion after like looking at all the options, and that was the way to go. Vanguard index funds. It's pretty simple too. You don't have to think about it. Just do it.
Simple. And for those who don't know what it is, Vanguard is a company that has an index fund, and what an index fund is, they basically buy the whole stock market.
Right.
And as the stock market goes up or down, what your share is worth goes up or down. And the reason why people recommend Vanguard is they have the lowest fee, which is like 0.05%.
Yeah. They have a different business model than a lot of other companies that'll do this for you. I don't really know a lot of the details for it, but it ends up being very favorable to the people that are investing.
So I think traditionally you have a stockbroker or a mutual fund manager, and they might take 2 to 4%, which is is just a waste of money because you don't need it.
Right.
So what came next? I would say that's like 1.0, investing 1.0. Investing 2.0 was these automated brokers like Betterment and Wealthfront,
Right.
which also work really well. And instead of taking 2 to 4%, they take 1% or 2%, which is still, it's you basically just doubled your money. It's great. And now we're just bypassing all that.
Right.
And Vanguard is just like an algorithm where, there's no one. I'd be surprised if they even have any employees like that need to do anything.
Right. And I mean, the thing to remember is like, 1% doesn't sound like that much, but we're like playing this game for compound interest, and like 1% every year. That really does add up.
Yeah, and it's crazy because I read Tony Robbins' book Money Master the Game, and it's hard. In the beginning I recommended it to everyone because he interviews the smartest people in finance. So the information in there is really invaluable because it teaches you the basics. Now the reason why I can't like earnestly recommend it to everyone is he recommends some products in there, like his rainy all seasons portfolio, where it's basically like a mix of different bonds and ETFs and like different things.
Yeah.
Which sound, and he really hypes it up. Like he like mentions it on page 2 and it doesn't tell you what it is until page 200. So you have to read the whole thing. And he keeps promoting this company called Stronghold, which is kind of like a Betterment or like Wealthfront. Sure. So what I would suggest to everyone is if you want to know more about financing or finances, I would read the book and just ignore those two things. And then you'll understand why all mutual funds are ripoffs, like literally 100% of them. Anyone who thinks they know what they're doing with stock market and they're like, oh, I've been getting 30% gains for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Why? They're just gambling and they're just lucky.
Right, and that ends.
Always ends poorly. Yeah. And why, at the end of the day, even though it's super boring to just buy an index fund and just never touch it, it's the best, most prudent thing you can do.
It really is, yeah. And there was one other thing that I wanted to say about index funds. Slipped my mind, but I've been doing that for the last few years, and it's been great.
And the other little tip is if you buy it directly from Vanguard.com, you don't have to pay the $8 fee that like Charles Schwab or these other places charge you.
Right. And when you're sitting on these things for a while, you're not paying any of these fees to trade or anything like that. Yeah. Because once you buy, you pretty much just
leave it.
Just leave it.
Yeah. So I think everyone, I wrote about in the article, but the goal for everyone should be, don't worry about financing yet if you don't have a ton of money. Just worry about creating more income.
Right.
But then once you get to a point where you're like, okay, I have 20 grand in my bank and just sitting there, and it's just a waste, then say, okay, like now I'm gonna start putting in 2 grand a month or 3 grand a month into this fund.
Right. You definitely need that nest egg first, just in case anything happens.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, don't be intimidated by it. Like the Vanguard stuff, it looks a little like, oh, I don't know how to invest. I don't know how to do any of this properly, but it's really not that bad. And you buy once and you sit on it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's enough of that.
Okay, yeah, enough finance talk.
What was your cost of living like in San Francisco, and then in Salt Lake City, and then now here?
Okay. So in San Francisco, I was lucky enough to be in a rent-controlled apartment, and I think I was paying. So I lived with, it was mostly me and then my roommate, and then his girlfriend moved in with us too. So that was also like very lucky for me for rent. I think I was paying maybe $12.50. But like that was a price in San Francisco where like if I told people,
they would hate you.
They would want to murder me because like that's just unheard of.
What were other people, colleagues, paying for something similar?
I mean, it was really not unheard of to hear people paying like definitely over $2,000 for like a room in like a multi-bedroom apartment. I think I honestly have one friend that lived alone, and gosh, she must have been paying almost $2,500 or something like that. And it was a new nice place, but it's
a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
I mean, okay, so if you do the math, if you take that $2,500, let's say even $2,000, and you put it into a fund like Vanguard, you will literally become a millionaire in the next, I haven't done the math, but 20, 30 years, guaranteed.
Yeah.
Just from putting that extra money you would have spent on rent into a fund.
Yeah. So And then that, there was food costs, which were not super cheap in San Francisco. I was probably spending maybe overall a little under $2,500 a month. And then I was just like putting the rest away to save so that I could travel and like paying off student loans and all of that kind of stuff. And Salt Lake City, same rent was $500 for a 2-bedroom apartment. Much lower cost of living. I think I got by on maybe 12.
So it was $1,000 for the apartment, and you were paying for half of it.
Right.
Okay.
And it was a nice apartment. We had plenty of room. Yeah, and then like food and ski stuff and all of that. Yeah, put me in. I was shooting for like a $1,000 a month budget, and I kind of would hit over it just because stuff would come up.
But I mean, you were skiing all day, having fun.
Yeah. And like I was, had to go home to see my family for the holidays and all of that. So,
but exactly half of what you're paying in San Francisco.
Pretty much, yeah. And then Chiang Mai, I was here for all of July, and I'm pretty sure I spent less than $1,000, and I wasn't like budgeting myself at all. It was like, oh, maybe I should get a massage today. Had a studio apartment that was like service, so they would clean it every Friday, give me new sheets, new towels, and everything. I had a motorbike. I was doing salsa lessons twice a week, like private instruction, and still it all came down to like maybe $1,000, and it's like I felt like I was getting so much more. Like all of those things that I wanted to do, maybe in San Francisco that were like too expensive or whatever. Could just do it, get a yoga class, go to yoga whenever you want, go to the gym and like go to a nice gym and all of that. So
I like it. So more freedom, more like almost pretty much a higher standard of living.
In a lot of ways, yeah. I keep on trying to like tell people what it's like out here. Like I was just home and trying to explain what Chiang Mai was like, and I was just like, I'm giving up nothing really in my standard of living.
So I actually posted a apartment ad or something on my Facebook and explained like about from San Francisco. I'm like, this is the place I would want to live if I moved back to San Francisco.
Right.
Did you see that?
I did see that. Yeah.
And do you remember what I wrote? I wrote this long rant about it.
It was pretty much like you would never even consider it, like given the housing market there.
And I don't remember how much it was, but it was
millions in the end, right? Like that you were giving up.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was, so it was a place for sale, but it was just like I think it was like a 2-bedroom condo. Nothing, like pretty much just like what I'm living in now.
Right.
Like literally where we're recording this now.
Right.
And it was a nice place, San Francisco. They had a gym, had a pool, but I have a gym and I have a pool here.
Yeah.
And it was a good location, but this is a good location too. So really not that big of a difference. And from what I remember specifically, it wasn't even the cost of the place. It was the fact that the monthly homeowners association, just the price of that was more than my entire rent here.
That's nuts.
And this place is furnished.
Right.
And the other place was bare, so you'd have to go buy furniture. And a lot of people don't realize, like, furniture doesn't, I guess furniture can last forever, but in general, you're making repairs, you buy new stuff, and like,
if you move, you have to like get rid of all of it or like transport it somehow or whatever.
One thing that's actually funny is I have never bought a flat screen TV.
Really?
And it's because in 2008, I guess, when I started traveling, that's when flat screens started getting popular and everyone started having them.
Right.
And I've always had a brand new flat screen because wherever I live has, a brand new flat screen.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize how fast they change. But I went back to my friend's house in New York, and I remember the last time I was there, I was so envious of his new Apple, huge flat screen that was so beautiful, like so HD. And I went there and I looked at it and I was like, what is this old piece of crap on your desk? Because when I had saw it last, it was the top of the line newest model.
Yeah.
And now it was like literally this old piece of crap.
You can barely stare at. Yeah.
And it was so thick and ugly, and just like the resolution was so bad.
Right.
And I thought, man, that's another $2,000 or $3,000 per year. Maybe not per year, but every like couple years that I'm not spending.
Right.
Just because I'm not furnishing my house ever.
Right. Yes, I don't even like. It's not even an option if you're renting here in a lot of cases. Like I don't. Every single apartment, because I'm apartment hunting right now. Every single place that I've looked at is furnished, and it's usually like decent stuff.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, and you know what? It's like at the end of the year, who cares if their IKEA stuff gets old or crappy, because you just leave it anyways.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, I'm looking for a 6-month lease. Like, doesn't really matter. Like, as long as I don't have to buy everything new and then find a way to get rid of it when it's time for me to move. Like, that's such a huge inconvenience.
And I've thought about going back to the U.S. and just like getting a service department rental, like a furnished place.
Yeah.
They just don't really exist, and if you find one, it's so overpriced.
It is.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Just don't, because there's not a market for it there, I guess.
Right. It's different here in Chiang Mai. Like the people that are looking for places here tend to be, I guess, mostly foreigners, right? And so they know the market. Yeah. They know who to keep happy.
So, what is your apartment hunting advice for people coming to Chiang Mai for the first time?
For your first time, honestly, I would get like a 1-month like serviced apartment in probably the Neiman area, just because that is just a nice kind of convenient place to be, kind of get outside of where a lot of the tourists are, and there's tons of restaurants and coffee shops and like pun spaces close by. Check it out. Like 1 month is long enough time for you to figure out where the good places are, do some research, start like talking to the property managers and stuff that are out here that can help you out, and then sign up for like a 6-month or a 1 year or whatever, however long you want to be here. But it's also like, I was surprised just how easy it is to come here and just like within a day have a place. Like you really don't, like you don't need to book anything beforehand online. Just show up, like you'll be fine.
That's actually the advice I give everyone. I say get a hotel room for 2 or 3 nights.
Yeah.
And just show up.
Yeah.
And you'll be fine.
It's amazingly convenient. Nothing like apartment hunting in the Bay Area.
I mean, like yeah. What was that like, finding your place? How did you find a rent and controlled apartment in San Francisco?
I just got lucky with that, and we were looking on Craigslist, and we were actually very fortunate because we only spent 3 weeks or a month or so looking. I had friends that were looking for like multiple months trying to get the right place, and like, you'll hear these stories about if you like say have an extra room and you want to rent it out, you'll put an ad on Craigslist and like get 50 plus responses from people, like pretty much full on resumes. Then you'll go in and you'll have to interview them, and it's like a whole thing. I didn't have to do any of that, thankfully, but it was a lot of just going to viewings, competing with people that are couples where each person is making over 6 figures, and they're ready to put down a deposit like the second that the landlord says yes. Lines of people that are all looking at the same kind of just crappy apartment. It's a mess. Yeah.
So how did you get yours?
It was actually pretty funny. My roommate and I, we didn't really know each other that well. We had toured this one place. We sent in our application, and then and we called up the landlord a couple days later to check on it, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you're actually one of the last 3 groups that we're looking at. It's let's see, you guys, the policeman and his family, and the other gay couple." I was like, "Oh, does he think we're a gay couple?"
Wait, Trevor, are you not gay?
Not gay.
just check.
So, but I mean, it got me an apartment in San Francisco, so I was like, all right, whatever the landlord thinks is fine, as long as he thinks that we're going to be good tenants, I'll take it.
So how did he decide on you versus the other gay couple?
I have no idea. I was happy when he called us up and said we could take it, so we like moved in like the next day, pretty much.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, but that was in 2011. Like it has not gotten easier. It's gotten way more competitive. Yeah.
That's so crazy, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I do not envy anybody doing the apartment hunt out there.
Man. I don't think I have a big desire to go through that anytime soon. Mm-hmm. Not saying that I would never want to go through that. I would say for the next 2 years, I don't want to think about it.
Yeah.
And then 2 years from now, I'm gonna think, okay, do I want to move? Honestly, I don't think I'll ever move back to San Francisco, even though my parents are there.
Mm-hmm.
I think if I move back, it's gonna be like Austin,
Sure.
maybe Florida. I don't know, somewhere else.
Somewhere else.
Just because I don't want to deal with the retarded amount of rent people are paying for no reason.
Right. It's just crazy right now. I don't know. I feel like something's got to happen to correct, but it's pretty ferocious.
So one thing I actually wanted to bring up was a friend of mine. She commented on that post saying she said she loves Chiang Mai, but it's not San Francisco. And I thought about it, long and hard, because I wanted to be pretty objective about it. And she's right. San Francisco is better. Mm-hmm. There's more stuff to do. There's, as good as the restaurants are in Chiang Mai, there's more restaurants in San Francisco. As nice as the nature is around here, there's more nature around San Francisco. Right. As cool as the people are, there's more people. They're just San Francisco is better.
Yeah.
There's things like Uber that we don't have yet.
Right.
There's, shows or comedy clubs, things that I wish were here. Mm-hmm. However, the reason why I still believe that Chiang Mai is overall a better lifestyle is we actually have the time and money to do these things that it does have.
Right.
So it's like we're doing, 80% of what's available in Chiang Mai all the time. Versus in San Francisco, in reality, in those 3 years that you were there, mm-hmm. How often would you actually, take advantage of let's say the shows or a comedy club or the nature?
Yeah.
Because you're always working.
Right. Shows a couple times a year. Mm-hmm. We usually get up to Tahoe maybe once a year. I know exactly what you were talking about, with the cost of living and stuff. When I first moved to San Francisco, I really wanted to start getting into yoga, and I did it for about 6 months, and then I was just like, I can't justify this expense anymore. I have to go at 6 a.m. because I have to be in at work, and sometimes you just wake up and you don't want to go, and then you're feel bad because your monthly membership, you're not taking advantage of it, and then it's not cheap, and so I just stopped. And
how much was the yoga there?
I think it was definitely over $100 a month for an unlimited membership at a place, and that would mean for me 3 to 4 times at most a week. Mm-hmm. In the end of the day, it's not it's not the most expensive thing.
But all those things add up.
Yeah, because if you pay for that, you have to pay for a gym membership. You pay for all these other kind of things that just attach to you, and it does add up.
Yeah. And there's actually a huge yoga community here. Mm-hmm. Where most of them, I think they either just don't work at all and they just do yoga every day, or they teach English and they kind of just make enough money to get by,
right? And
then they do yoga.
Yeah,
and it's much cheaper here. Still a fantastic community.
Yeah, the place that I was going to when I was here a month ago, my instructors were from Switzerland, from Austin, Texas, from the other one was a New Yorker.
Was it Yoga Tree?
Yeah.
Dude, I really like that guy from New York.
Yeah.
He reminds me of Anthony Bourdain.
He does not put up with any of your nonsense.
Yeah, it's a fantastic place. I don't remember exactly how much it costs, but it was... Do you remember?
I think it was $5 a class or something.
Whatever it was a lot cheaper than...
So much cheaper, yeah.
Much, much cheaper.
Yeah.
And I actually kind of like the setting where you can hear birds.
Yeah.
It feels like even though this particular place was in the old city,
right,
it still was really secluded, really quiet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would have been much more expensive for that kind of experience anywhere in the US, I think.
Yeah, because especially in San Francisco, I assume, even though I'm sure the studio is very nice, it's an indoor, air-conditioned, kind of sterile place.
Yeah, I think San Francisco in particular is good about having a pretty nice vibe in most of the studios, but sometimes you'll go to a class and there's 100 other people in it, depending on the studio that you go to. So most of my classes here were 7 people tops, and the structure gives a lot of attention and all of that.
And nobody's in a rush because you don't have to go to work afterwards.
Yeah, no, it's great.
You don't have to do it at 6 a.m.
Yeah, show up at 10:30.
And then you
Go to
chill
an hour and a
afterwards.
half. Yeah.
You know, there's like, they serve coconuts there.
Yeah.
You just hang out in the garden.
Talk to the instructor, talk to the other students, then head back.
Yeah, and just kind of do your thing.
Yeah.
I like it. So now that you're in Chiang Mai again, what brought you back?
Well, I wanted to. So I'm running a dropshipping company now, and I wanted to get that really ramped up. And I mean, you can't really compete with the cost of living like we talked about already. And you know, there's a community here of people that get it, of people that can help you. Like, I mean, even like when I was in San Francisco talking about what I was doing, I mean, there's definitely a very entrepreneurial vibe there, but like people would be like, okay, so give me your pitch. I'm like, wait, my pitch? I have a store and I sell things to people that want those things and they give me money. And that was kind of like, well, why would you need investors for that? I'm like, I don't need investors. And it just like totally didn't really resonate with the entrepreneurial community there. But here, you know, it's a completely different story. There's so many people that have kind of made the mistakes that you might be about to make and can help you out. There's people that can, you know, just give you good advice on the next thing that you might want to be working on. You can hear tons of, you can leverage all the experience that the community has here.
Yeah, even though we're all kind of, I guess, in the tech scene or internet scene, it's completely different.
It is.
Like, I listen to This Week in Startups. Shout out to @Jason on Twitter. Yep, just his first name. He's very proud of that.
Yeah.
But I know it has nothing to do with what I'm doing.
Sure, yeah.
But it's still interesting to me,
right,
because people work online. It's, you know, it's fun to to listen. Mm-hmm. But what we do is bootstrapped businesses, where the point of it is to get cash flow as soon as day one as possible. Mm-hmm. You know, we don't care about users. We don't care about, you know,
like number of users.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, we need some users. Mm-hmm. I want one user a day. Mm-hmm. I'm happy with that. Yeah. If that person is paying mm-hmm. and he's buying something, I'm happy with one user a day. Yeah. And nobody wants VC funding. Nobody wants seed capital. Mm-hmm. What's funny is if you hang out in Punspace long enough, people will come in and just kind of like pitch to the room, say, hey, we're here from Bangkok. Does anyone need funding? Uh-huh. And you would expect people to line up and like with their pitch decks and like want meetings. And we're like, no, we're good.
Thanks.
And it's such a weird, I mean, it's so different.
It is really different.
I mean, can you imagine if that happened back in San Francisco?
That would be unheard of. But yeah, it's really cool out here. And I mean, I can't really think of another place where it's so really easy to get plugged into the community, into making it a home, into like, you know, the scene of all the like fun things to do around here. It's just like very simple. So let's
rewind. When you said you heard, did you hear the podcast, or did you find my blog before you came?
I think I found your blog first, and then the podcast. Yeah.
Okay, so you're listening to it, reading the blog, listened to it, mm-hmm. decided to come to Chiang Mai.
Yeah.
Then what?
Well, I think I was kind of like, I wasn't sure about Chiang Mai, so I was like, I keep on hearing about it, but like, is it really there, or is it just like, you know, a couple of very vocal people that have been really successful? And so I just wanted to check it out. That's why I only stayed for a month when I first came. And I was like, if I don't like it, I don't like it. That's fine. But yeah, I mean, I was already in Southeast Asia. People, like, even if you're not doing any type of, you know, solo entrepreneurship work or anything like that, Chiang Mai is still an awesome place to come. Like, you'll talk to backpackers and stuff along the way, and they're like, yeah, after I got done with like kind of the party scene of the islands and all of that in Thailand, I went to Chiang Mai and had an awesome time, and I want to go back and all of that. Like, it's just a really cool place no matter what. So yeah, there was really nothing stopping me from coming, and then, you know, once I liked it, it really took me, I think, a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks before I was like, okay, I'm coming back. Yeah.
So first day you got an apartment, you mm-hmm. showed up at Punspace, got a membership, met me having coffee, or making coffee,
right?
And then from there, did you meet a lot of other nomads and people working there?
Yeah, I mean, I was actually really kind of surprised, because, you know, you meet, you know, a couple people one day, you meet a few people the next day. I go to the other Punspace location a lot, you know, you meet people there, and I remember on my last day when I was about ready to fly out, I said goodbye to you, and I said goodbye to some of the other people that we normally sit with. And then I started going around the room, and I felt like I had to do a tour of just oh yeah, man, I'll see you later, man, I'll be back. And I couldn't believe it, just hugging everybody and everything like that. And I was like, oh, there's, it's just been a month, but I really feel like I know the place. So that felt really good.
I've only been to a couple co-working spaces in San Francisco, mainly WeWork.
Oh yeah.
Great, beautiful place, but nobody wanted to talk to me. I almost feel like it was almost the opposite of JY.
Yeah, I think it's pretty special here. I worked out of another place in San Francisco when I was back called Workshop Cafe, which is kind of like a mix between a coffee shop and an actual co-working space. And I don't think I talked to a single person when I was there, except for maybe I did get to know the baristas and stuff pretty well, but that was it. And that was just the vibe there. And I think that's pretty normal for most co-working spaces.
That sucks because it's like going to college and then not being able to make friends.
Yeah.
Versus here, this is what people dream of when they show up at the dorm the first day.
Right.
And everybody's like, hey, how's it going?
Yeah, what do you want to do? How can we help?
Go on.
I think that's the vibe that people want at co-working spaces. That's why they get started, is for that kind of spontaneity and kind of serendipity type thing where ideas start to come together because everybody's just in the same place and working hard and just happens to be interacting. But I don't know, maybe I'm doing the co-working spaces in the US wrong and I'm not social enough or something, but it didn't happen at all when I was there.
I mean, I'm sure there are, some people that get plugged in easily, but I mean, I had the same experience. So I would say overall, people aren't traveling, so they're not trying to meet new people. They have their group of friends. They have the company, the startup that they work for. They have trade secrets they don't want to tell anyone.
Right.
So here it's really different because everyone's doing their own thing. I want to publicly apologize on my podcast that if you met me in the last couple months and you came up to me at, let's say, a Punch Space or wherever it was, and if I wasn't that friendly, I'm sorry. And I thought about it. Actually, my buddy Chris mentioned it to me. He's like, Johnny, people are coming up and saying dude, your book changed my life. I moved, halfway across the world to come to Chiang Mai, and I'm here. And I, and all I said would be oh, cool, welcome.
Yeah.
And that was it. And I think what it is I don't want to say I was jaded. I think and it doesn't matter how many people a week come up and say that, because each individual person is making a big journey.
Yeah.
So I should take the time to acknowledge and respect that. I think that the only reason why I wasn't more excited was because I wasn't in a good place in my own life for the last couple of months. I've been stressed with work, with relationships, with just all these other things going on in my life where I'm kind of it's like a reflection. There's a book called The Four Agreements that I would highly encourage everyone to read. It's really, really good. And one of the agreements is never take anything personally, because nothing someone does is anything else besides a reflection of how they're feeling at the time.
Right.
So with certain people, I was, maybe got me on a good day and I was super friendly.
Right.
And I just happened to be going to lunch anyways. And I'm oh yeah, hey, come along to lunch.
Sure.
And then other times I was stressed about something, or, I was dealing with personal issues.
Yeah.
And I'm just hey, welcome, and I always thought I was friendly to people. But now that I think back, I'm you know what, I could have been,
sure.
I could have taken that extra step.
Sure. I mean, I can see that being really difficult though. Not trying to blow smoke up your ass or anything, but you're a big face of digital nomad community, especially in Chiang Mai. You're a big Chiang Mai spokesperson, so I can see it being always I remember when I met you, I was oh man, this is the guy. And I was even nervous to go up to you at first and everything. So I can see that happening a lot, and it being hard to give it a genuine appreciation every single time. But
what I have been trying to do is, if I don't have time to hang out, I always try to introduce them to like one or two other people.
Yeah.
Especially if it's at Pun Space.
Yeah.
So then they have like a crew of people who maybe just moved here recently as well.
Like other people just getting started, other people that even just like people to go and eat lunch with and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason why I never like went out of my way to do it is because I know how easy it is here to meet other people. I'm like, well, like I don't have like you don't have to hang out with me. Like there are 20 other people in this co-working space you can meet.
Right. They're all like interesting people, have cool stories. Like
So and like let's say for apartments, like I first off I don't have time to like explain to everyone like how to find an apartment.
Yeah.
And I also know it's super easy, so just do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You'll figure it out.
But at the same time, I have to put myself in their shoes. When it was my first day, I was scared.
Yeah.
Even though maybe it's irrational and there was like no reason to worry or to be scared, I was still worried. So that's why I wrote this mega blog post called Johnny's Ultimate Guide to Chiang Mai.
Right, I think I read that before coming.
Did you?
Yeah, I think
okay,
so.
Good.
Yeah.
And it just makes it so much easier because I really put everything out there. Like I was writing it basically to a friend and say, this is everything I would recommend. And then if people still have questions, I'm always happy to help.
Sure.
Like I get so many random Facebook messages a day, ranging from everything about finding apartment to business to, like who knows what. And it's nice to be able to just link that to them and say like, this is what I would do.
Yeah. That's what blogs are like perfect for, right? It's like that information that needs to be recirculated over and over again, and it's always valuable.
So how did you get started with dropshipping?
I was looking at a few different ideas for just starting to make a little bit of money. Like I knew that, if I could be getting $1,000 a month, I could pretty much be traveling in Southeast Asia indefinitely. And I considered things like blogging, like doing a software product, which would really seemed to make a lot of sense for someone with my background. Like, software sells. It's something that I feel like I can do a pretty decent job of. I'm like already very familiar with the e-commerce space where there's like a lot of money. So I actually seriously considered that for a little while. And what I ended up deciding on dropshipping was like I was really interested in learning how to run a business and all of the stuff that had to happen and I had to learn and I had to grow into to actually do properly. And I knew that if I started a software company, I would almost hide in the product. Like I would always be like, it's like I just know how I work and I know how I build things, and it's like I would always never feel like it was ready, and I would always kind of like avoid putting myself into those uncomfortable situations of things that I didn't know how to do, just because I could always work on the software. That's the way software is. You can always improve it and always work on it. So I decided for my first chance, my first run, just do a business where I don't really have to worry about coding or anything like that. And dropshipping just made a lot of sense just because of the resources available, of the kind of, the fact that other people were doing it here, and yeah, that kind of just all came together.
Very cool. And did you first hear about it on like my blog or podcast or somewhere else?
I think it was somewhere else, but I don't remember where. I was reading a few different sources for a while about people that had gotten started with dropshipping and like all the there's a ton of guides and like short courses and stuff that you can run through. Even Shopify just has like a how to get started with dropshipping like course that you can run through in a day. So I was just absorbing information for a while, and that kind of made sense.
Okay. So did you ever end up signing up for Anton's course?
I did. Yes.
And what made you decide to do that?
Pretty much like once I got here and decided that I wanted to actually like, go all in with dropshipping, I was just like, okay, how can we minimize my chance of failure here? Like, what's the fast track? I don't want to waste my time with like, the dumb mistakes, the false starts, the completely avoidable things that keep you from starting to just get traction and make money. And I was like, okay, if this is a few $100s or whatever the cost of the courses, I don't remember, like just like an initial investment, like do it because it's going to pay off. Like this is something that I'm planning to do for years, not like a 2-month kind of how quickly can I make cash thing. So those initial investments, they make sense.
Okay. And was it worth it?
Yeah, it definitely was. I mean, I think there's a lot of new stuff that's coming up that maybe isn't reflected in the course yet. but the forums I think are so valuable, and seeing other people's experiences, being able to reach out and just like little stuff like, oh, how do I get this thing to work on my store, or like, oh, I don't know where to get like, all that stuff you have to do to actually start a business, like the certification and the registration and like your licenses and all of that. Just like having those resources there and people that have actually really dealt with the problems was super valuable.
One thing that has really been annoying me, but I make it a point not to respond to I don't say, all right, I don't respond to any like negativity online, just because I'm like, you know what, I don't care.
It's not worth it.
Yeah, because it just spirals down and you just get dragged down into this pit. But one thing that I read recently, I really wanted to respond to it. I just didn't, because I'm like, you know what, if that's what they want to believe, that's their, that's the thing. And there's some guy, he wrote that, why dropshipping doesn't work. And he listed all these reasons. And the thing that annoyed me most about it was, I think as someone who hasn't gotten started yet, it'll really prevent them from wanting to start, because they all sound like they could be logical reasons. But as someone who owns a profitable store, I'm like, this is so stupid.
Right.
And like some of the reasons were all the good domain names are taken. And I was like, who cares?
Yeah.
Like, just have a longer domain name.
Yeah,
like,
it's fine. People don't type these things in anymore.
Yeah, and like, I'm like, and that's not even true.
No,
like,
I spent a couple hours. I think I have a pretty decent domain for what my niche is, and definitely like the obvious ones were completely gone or were like $12,000 to buy, but within the day I had found something that I was really happy with.
And the thing is, that is a problem that every website's gonna have.
Yeah.
So if you start a blog, if you sell, like if you do anything, you have to have a domain. And like, I don't understand why this person like had that as a main factor of his argument against dropshipping.
Right.
And like,
I haven't seen this post.
Okay.
Don't
waste your time looking for it.
Okay.
And I honestly don't even remember what the other ones were, but like all of them, 100% of them had some truth in it. Yeah, it is like a lot of good domain names are taken.
Right. That is true. Yeah.
I would love to have bestbuy.com.
Right.
But it's not. It's not available.
Yeah. It's not gonna happen.
But and that's the hard part is people that like have either never tried it themselves, or they kind of tried to do that free route where they like read that Shopify guide and they read all these other free articles and they're like, okay, let me try it, and it didn't work for them, and then they're like, okay, it doesn't work. And I'm like, they were not dedicated like you were.
Right. I mean, I think especially like if you're not sure and you really want to do it, like those kinds of things can really stick with you. Like I'm glad I did not see that before I started, because it would have been in the back of my mind all the time. Like, oh, maybe the reason that I haven't gotten like, as many sales as I want is because my domain's really bad, or something along those lines. But it isn't easy. Like, it's not something that, like, getting the business off the ground is not something that happens in a week or even a month or whatever.
How long did it take you?
Let's see. I started driving traffic to my site just with like, PPC stuff after a bit over a month.
Okay.
And then I had my first sale about 2 weeks in. And then it's been about 2-3 weeks since then too.
So it only took you 6 months to start your store and then get your first sale? 6 weeks.
Yeah, six weeks.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's really good. Actually.
I was really happy with that.
Okay.
And I think a lot of it just had to do with the fact that I was here, and it was my full-time thing. If I had another job, or if I had a family or something like that, I could totally see it taking much longer. But it was just my one and only for a while. Still
cool.
is.
Well, dude, congratulations.
Thanks.
Yeah. What do you think the biggest obstacles were?
Calling up people, like calling up suppliers, was something like I was on my first call, since I was calling the U.S. and I was in Chiang Mai. I was like at I think 9 in the evening, and I was sitting in Punspace. I was the only one there, and I had the supplier I was going to call up, and like my foot was like literally shaking, and like I was starting to sweat because I was so nervous. And I was like, I was like, I'm gonna call these people up, and they're gonna be like, oh, you're just some dude from the internet who has no idea what he's talking about, and you know, please don't call us back ever, and all of that. And then, you know, like I called them up, spoke to a really nice person on the phone. Like, I think my first call, I made the mistake of not knowing the difference between a brand and a supplier. So I like called them up, and they were like, no, you just need to message our suppliers. Then when I did that, you know, I think I got my first supplier signed on, like, you know, the second person I called.
Oh, nice. Congrats,
yeah. So that was awesome. And it just got easier after that. And, you know, I think after I did that, like, I don't know, it was so empowering to just feel like, you know, I can just call these people up, be like, hey, this is Trevor with, you know, whatever company, and they take you seriously, because you take yourself seriously, and like, you know, this is a business, and it's really easy, I think, to just think of it as like oh, this is just a thing I'm trying, or oh, I don't know if this is gonna work out, but like, it's an actual business, and it's not like people always use the term like, oh, I need to get a real job or whatever. Like, this is a real job. You gotta treat it like that, and other people will treat you like that.
I respect that so much, especially coming from someone who has enough savings now to not have to do this.
Right.
What made you decide that you want to put in this effort? Because I mean, it's not easy. I mean, as you said, it took you 6 weeks.
Right.
You know, it took me 8 weeks. You
right.
know, I mean, it's a big process.
It is.
You know, and you're basically treating it like another full-time job. Yeah,
definitely. I think, like, the thing with the cash coming in was, I'm trying to treat that as much as like I'm trying not to lean on it too much. I'm trying to add as much of it to my savings as I can, because like that, if I don't start doing something, that cash is gonna run out like very quickly. And I'm very much somebody that believes in, you know, or what I'm trying right now is just like being independent and being sustainable on your own with this business. I want the freedom and the peace of mind that kind of comes along with something that's successful like that. So yeah, I mean, I did for a while consider like, oh yeah, actually, you know, I don't have to do anything, but this is what I want to be doing. So here I am.
Good. So what are your plans? What are your goals?
My immediate goals are to get the store to the point where it's sustaining me in Chiang Mai. I have like kind of like a few high-end like, do I want to keep this just a dropshipping store? Maybe we can like, if it goes really well, and like, because I really actually like the niche that I'm in, like turning it into maybe we have our own product and we're selling that, and now we don't have to actually dropship, but you know, there's a lot of challenges that come along with that. And then from there, you know, I guess what I need to see is if this is going to be something where I kind of try to get it onto autopilot, where it's just always bringing in money, or if it's something that I want to keep on growing as much as I can to the point where probably it's no longer really a dropshipping business, but like a big player in the space.
Well, I think that's what's so cool about Anton's course is he keeps adding new modules, new videos to it, and he's trying to basically get people to get to a point where they can either choose one or two paths, where they can just automate and say, okay, I'm happy with that. Yeah. Now let me either make another store or let me do something else.
Right.
Or you could start importing and private labeling products. So you can become a supplier, you can become a brand.
Right.
And other people can dropship for you.
Right. And
I think, are you going to go to the retreat this year?
I'm planning to, yeah. Still need to buy that ticket.
So it's in October, so it's a month from now.
Yeah.
I would like to say to people, if you haven't started a store, to come to the retreat. But honestly, I think this one's going to be more for people who already are making sales, already have a profitable store. Last year, it was more for people kind of just starting out, made the first sale or two, just learn how to optimize.
Right.
I think this year is going to be more about like really scaling, blowing up, because it's going to be a lot of the people who are now making pretty much like a pretty good full-time income because they have a couple stores. They're doing like $4,000, $5,000 a month, and now they're gonna like, okay, what should I do with this store with this money? And what's crazy is, I wish these people would be more like vocal or like blog more, because I don't, I know I'm not the only one, but I'm one of the people who like really talks about it.
Yeah.
And I also get all the heat for it.
Sure, yeah.
Because, you know?
yeah, because like you put like your numbers out every month, and like people can go in and like dissect that. I don't think anybody else does. Yeah.
And you know, so that was the path I chose. You know, I'm like, okay, I can either just keep quiet about it and just do it on my own, or I can just let everyone know what I'm doing.
Right.
And so far, you know, it's giving me a ton of heat, but it's also giving me a ton of opportunities.
Yeah.
And other things as well.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited for that. And the retreat, I bet you when we get there, we're going to meet literally there's going to be 100 people there, 100 other members. And like, you know, at least half of them are going to be making, you know, 3,000 to 5,000 a month.
Right.
And you're going to be like, why don't you ever freaking post in the forum?
Like this would be so helpful, right?
Yeah. And I think people are just busy, you know, or like they have no incentive.
Yeah.
Like they're like, they posted a lot when they're first starting out.
Right.
And then the last post they made would be like, oh, you know, I had a great month, I made 2K. And then they stopped posting. And you're like, well, what happened to that 2K? Like, did that just overnight, is that gone?
Yeah.
Or are you like just doing something?
Doubled it?
Are you doubled it? Like, what are you doing now?
No, I'm guilty of that. Like, I haven't really posted on the forums much at all. I just like, I read. And even the last few weeks, I haven't been super active at all. But that information is so valuable to people just getting started. Yeah, maybe I should.
You should post, like definitely 100% post in there.
Yeah.
And I'm glad there are like a few people who, like for a long time it was me helping new people and then new people helping each other. But now I actually don't have as much time to post in there.
Right.
And I just logged in. I try to log in every day. Just, I check I have a progress thread on there that if people ask me questions on there, I'll answer it because you know I feel like it's like yours. The least I can do.
Yeah.
It's mine.
Yeah.
But I normally don't have time to go on everyone else's threads and follow along. But I did today, and I'm happy. There's like 5 or 10 other guys who are all successful, all doing a couple thousand a month.
Yeah.
And they are taking the initiative to help each other out.
That's great.
So I'm very happy with that. Yeah. And the reason why I like helping people in the forums is I know that, number one, they know all the basics because they've been through the course. Second, they paid, you know, $1,000 to join Anton's course, so they are serious. Yeah. And, you know, third, like, I know that, you know, they genuinely, truly they're dedicated. So that's why, even though after they join Anton's course, there's no incentive for me to help.
Yeah.
But I help anyways because I want people to succeed.
Right. I mean, I remember before I actually purchased it, I was like, I wish I could just get forum access. Like, why isn't that free? Or whatever, like why isn't this just like a, you know, some site that you can go to? But it totally makes sense because it is a community of people that are very serious.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and you know, if it wasn't for the core modules, people would be asking the same stupid questions
over and over.
So it's good that they watched all the videos first.
Yeah.
So that's probably the main reason.
Yeah, definitely.
So. If you guys want to join the course, if you guys want to do it through my link, it's antonmethod.com, or you can go to the show notes or my recommended resources page on johnnyfd.com, and you get a free bonus. So it's my way of kind of helping people get started. It's pretty informal. It's just a bunch of videos that I filmed on how I do niche selection and how I know when to call suppliers. And it's mainly... What it was, to be honest, was people kept asking the same questions, and I would always answer it.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, it must be easy. It'd be easier if I just like recorded something and put it up there.
I think you had just had it out for maybe a week or so when I got the course, and it was really helpful.
Was it okay?
Yeah,
see, perfect.
It was.
Yeah. So if you want that for free, use my link, and I get credit for referring you, and you get this free bonus. So it's win-win for both of us. And if you end up signing up for Shopify, which is the platform that Anton recommends, I have a 20% off coupon in there that you can use as well. Trevor, thank you so much for being on the show, man.
Thanks a lot,
really, really appreciated that.
Yeah, this has been great.
If people want to keep in touch with you, how can they find you on social media?
See, on Twitter, I am Trevor G. Reid.
You don't have @Trevor?
No, I wish.
Trevor Gangster Reid on Twitter.
Instagram. I think that's about it.
Okay. Awesome. Right. Let's enjoy the rest of Chiang Mai, and I'll see everyone next week. Thank you for listening to the Travel Like a Boss podcast. If you want to hear more, including the bonus How to Choose the Perfect Niche episode, join our mailing list at travellikeabosspodcast.com. See you next week, and remember, if you want to travel like a boss, you need to be your own boss. So start your online business today and start living the lifestyle you've always dreamed of.